Hello and welcome to Matt's Mosh Pit. And last night I went to go see the very first show of the North American tour for Apocalyptica with Nita Strauss opening up. And I'm going to tell you all about it. But before I get started, I just want to say thank you so much for all the love and support you've shown me and my channel so far. It truly means a lot, and I could not do this without you. So folks, if you've checked out my What's New in 2025 video, then you will know that I really wanted to change the way that I do concert vlogs. And in the past, I had actually been recording pretty much all of the show and then cutting it down just a little bit because of the various copyright stuff. But for the most part, I spent most of the show just completely recording the show. I don't know if it's coming back with a guilty conscience or just really just trying to do the right thing by the artist. So I didn't feel comfortable doing that anymore. So my so-called concert vlogs are going to be over for the time being. And so this was actually the very first show that I went to that I want to share with you guys, but I just tell you right now, I did not record the whole show. I did take some snippets and you'll definitely see those in this video, but it was definitely not the typical, concert vlog that you're used to if you've been watching this channel. Quite frankly, once you hear how everything went, you'll see that it was probably for the best. With that being said, let me just get right into it. The show took place at the Warner Theater in Washington, D.C., and I believe I mentioned it earlier, but it was the very first night of the tour. Apocalyptica was headlining and Nita Strauss opened up. And if you're not familiar with Nita Strauss, she's just an amazing guitar player. She is the guitar player for Alice Cooper, and prior to that, she was playing with the Iron Maidens. I personally found her for the very first time when Alice Cooper opened up for Motley Crue on their final tour, but not really their final tour type of thing. But at the time we thought it was a final tour. You guys know how that goes. Anyway, Alice Cooper was great, but all I could pay attention to was his guitar player, who just was ridiculously awesome. And so ever since then, I've been kind of following her career. She led me to Arch Enemy because the Wolf You Feed video featured Elisa from Arch Enemy. And I was like, who is that young go-getter? I got to find out what she does. And so then I found Arch Enemy, and now I'm a lifelong fan of Arch Enemy. I guess I can't say I'm a lifelong. I guess for the rest of my life, I'll be a lifelong fan. But anyway, besides the point. So I've been following Nita's career for quite some time. So all I had to see was that Nita was playing in DC. And no slight to Apocalyptica, but that was really the draw for me. Apocalyptica, I'm a fan of what I've heard from them. And, even back in the late 90s, I believe, I had heard a couple of Metallica covers that they did, and I thought it was really, really cool. But I was really kind of concerned about the whole idea of going to see a show where there's like not many vocals or next to no vocals, and especially with instruments, that they're classical instruments, they play cellos. And for me, I'm not typically one that would go to like a classical music show or like a symphony. Not that I wouldn't go, but it's just not in my wheelhouse, let's just say. So I really wasn't sure if like I would get there and the show would start and then like 5 minutes later I'd be bored. Like after you see the initial come out on stage, and it's super cool to see, some of your favorite songs being played in a different style. And then, after that I was kind of concerned that I would be like, okay, this can end. Boring. But anyway, we'll get into that part later. But let's just start off with the fact that, the Warner Theaters is such a great place to go. It holds about 2,000 people, maybe a little under that. And it's a 100-year-old venue. So it's very ornate. There's a lot of chandeliers everywhere. And, it's just, gold and red and the colors, it screams like old school vibes. I would say if you're familiar with like the Carnegie Hall in New York. It's kind of like a smaller version of that, I guess, but where you can just imagine the ornateness, let's just say. I can't complain. The seats were great. I did stop by the merch section. The merch section was, super cool. They had a lot of the same stuff that you would normally see, the hoodies, the t-shirts, they did have signed stuff. I think Nita definitely had more signed stuff. They had like drum heads and, pretty much anything you could want. And so, the merch section was super cool. Our seats were awesome. So we were just really in for a good show. What I thought was really interesting is the fact that the show kicked off 15 minutes earlier than what was advertised on the website. It was supposed to start at 7:30 and it actually started at 7:15. I can't say that I have ever been to a show where it actually started 15 minutes earlier than, I've had 15 minutes. I've had an hour later than it's supposed to start. This one actually started 15 minutes early, which, hey, I wasn't going to complain because I was already in my seat ready to go. So big ups. I don't know who called that shot. I don't know if it was, Nita just going, hey, we're going anyway, or, no matter what, I don't know, but it was super cool. I was ready to go. And Nita's set was actually really, really cool. She had the first half of her set was instrumental. And, her songs are awesome. Her playing is great. Then the second half of her show, she brought out Casey Carlson, who is in a band. She fronts a band called Deadlands. And I know her from TikTok and YouTube. She does a lot of those, like, she'll do a song in like one take, and it's just awesome. So I've been a big fan of hers. So I was really, really excited to see her come out. And so for the last half of Nita's set, she did the songs with the vocals. The songs off of Nita's last album. She did The Wolf You Feed. So Nita's set was fantastic. The band sounded great, and, she was amazing as expected. But I swear, if there was one critique, I would say that it was really weird to split the setup between, the first half being her stuff without vocals and her second half being songs with vocals, because it seemed kind of odd to bring the vocalists out halfway through. And then it really, unfortunately, kind of highlighted like an awkwardness in a weird sort of way. And I would say the first half, where it was solo, it was just, Nita, and she was running around the stage, and, because she's like the main focal point. And then the second half, when you bring in Casey to sing, it's, your view kind of goes towards Casey. and Nita gets to sit back a little bit, which is probably comfortable for both parties. But it seemed like there was some awkwardness on stage, and this is not that they don't like each other or anything like that. I think it's a matter of they're still young as playing together, so I think they're trying to find their way. And so it felt as if when there were no vocals in the song, Casey would kind of, almost go off stage. And then when the vocals came back, she would come back on stage. So it almost seemed like she wasn't allowed to be on stage if there were no vocals being done at the same time. And I'm almost positive that's not the case. I have a feeling everybody gets along great and all that kind of good stuff. It's just a matter of them as a band kind of finding what that's going to look like. So for me personally, I think what I would do is sprinkle the set with vocals and then some instrumentals. And so that way, and I would start off maybe with a vocal song to where Casey comes out in the beginning with the rest of the band. And then, just sprinkle in some instrumentals. And then at that point, it would more look like Casey was getting a little bit of a breather rather than just coming in the second half. That's really just if I had any say or had any kind of critiques, that's kind of what I would do. But hey, I'm just one person and I'm just giving you my perspective, but it doesn't change the fact that they were fantastic. The coolest thing in the world is how accessible Nita and her whole band are. It's a decent sized venue and it doesn't necessarily lend itself to, hanging out, for lack of better terms. But as soon as the set was over, Nita basically just announced that, hey, they're going to be hanging out at the merch, section. If you want to hang out and say hi, let's do that. The best is she specifically said, we're doing it before Apocalyptica's set. So it was, they weren't going to interrupt the other, band set. It was very respectful and super cool. So of course I went over there and, got to meet the band. And I will say, Casey was just super cool and friendly. The whole band was just uber friendly. And, Nita specifically, funny, I asked if we could take a picture and she actually grabbed my phone and was like, okay, let's do this. And so I was like, that's kind of cool, but, anyway, super friendly, very approachable. They definitely did not disappoint. I was left just super, super happy with the whole experience. So then we get to Apocalyptica. And Apocalyptica, I wasn't really sure how this was going to really work because, once again, am I going to have to sit through a 2-hour set of something where I'm bored 5 minutes in? Boring. Or, I just didn't know how I was going to feel. The audience was actually pretty pumped up for them, so that definitely helped. And the lights went out. And they started playing Ecstasy of Gold, which is the song that Metallica comes out to every single show. And it automatically just gives you the goosebumps, the vibes of like, oh, it's going down. And it was going down. So I got extra excited. And so next thing you know, band comes out and they just were just tearing the stage apart. It was awesome. It was just I'm in awe of their cello skills, and at no point was I getting bored. Like I said, I was really concerned because, there's certain things that are novelty where you go, oh man, that's really, really cool. But then do you want to sit through 2 hours of it, and that's what I was afraid of. At no point, I can say this, was I bored at all. These guys know how to entertain. They were just, sheer energy, and I felt bad for them because they were jet lagged because they had literally just flown in from Finland. I think they might have had 1 day in between, but still, if you guys have traveled far away, it's tough to recoup. And the fact that they're just amazing. And so I was loving it, just completely in the zone, just like, this is amazing. This is fantastic. Then I had to go to the bathroom. And I will say, I never, if anybody knows me, they know that I don't usually leave my position wherever I am at a concert. I don't leave. I don't know if I'm mentally trained to not have to go to the bathroom. But for some reason, at this particular show and at this particular time, I was like, I have to go to the bathroom, and I don't know how long they're going to play. Like, I don't know what their set looks like. So I need to just kind of make a run for it. And so I specifically know when, because they played Saint Anger. And I'm not a big Saint Anger fan. And so I was like, okay, this might be where I can make a run for it. So I go to the bathroom. And as I'm walking up the aisles to go outside to where the stairs were to the bathrooms, I see, Nita Strauss's drummer, and he was there talking to Brian from Rockfeed. And I was like, whoa. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with Rockfeed, but Rockfeed is a huge channel in the, heavy music genre on YouTube. And I've been watching that channel for so long. And, he just seems like a cool dude, and he has like the best experiences. Honestly, I'm very jealous. He has the relationships with all the big bands, and, he's had so many cool concert experiences, especially as of late. And so for me, it was just like, oh my gosh, like for me, I'm like, that's a celebrity, that's super cool. So I looked over at him and I'm like, dude, you're Rockfeed. And like, I know he's kind of doing what I'm doing, but totally different, but we're kind of on the same platform, for lack of better terms, but he's obviously much bigger. For me, he's like a celebrity. So I didn't know how he was going to be. Was he going to be kind of like standoffish? Was it awkward? Was it going to be awkward? Because I know in a weird sort of way, like, I don't really want to be awkward if somebody came to me and was like, hey, you're Matt's Mosh Pit, but you can never tell. Like, I don't know. I hope I wouldn't be awkward, and I hope I would be really, really cool. I will say Brian from Rockfeed is 100% the coolest dude. Just the most, genuinely nice guy you could ever imagine. Like, it blew me away. He introduced himself, and it was a quick, hey, I've got a channel too, blah, 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 blah. And so I didn't want to bother him because I knew he was talking to Josh, Nita's husband, Josh, and drummer for her band. So I then, kind of went to the restroom and then came back, and, Brian was there talking to one of the security guards or whatever. So I figured maybe now's another time to, talk to him. And so once he was done with his conversation, we started talking again, and I'm not going to go into details of what we talked about and whatnot, but I will say this, just once again, the most genuinely good dudes, just super cool. And, he gave me, a bunch of time. We were, I was asking questions and all this kind of good stuff. And it was just everything that you would want it to be. You'd want the encounter to be. And actually Josh came back and we ended up having like a 3-person conversation just about, cool things and whatnot. And it was really surreal in a weird sort of way, because I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, I'm literally having a conversation with a YouTube celebrity and, and a musician that I really admire. So it was just such a cool experience. Unfortunately, all while Apocalyptica was playing. So I did miss their version of Master of Puppets. But quite frankly, for me, the experience I had outside was just once again, just super cool. And I can't thank Brian from Rockfeed enough for being as cool as he was, because once again, you really just don't know how people are going to be. And, once again, both of them, Brian and Josh, just made me feel extremely comfortable and, really appreciated. And so can't thank that. That was just the coolest experience. And to my original thing that I mentioned, where I used to go to these shows and just kind of record the whole show and then go home and chop it up and do my thing. The fact that I didn't record the show and only recorded some snippets basically allowed for me to have that opportunity to, talk to somebody that I really admire in this particular world. So if you haven't seen Rockfeed, definitely go check it out. It's, like I said, I watch it all the time. So, anyway, with that being said, I then went back to the show and the show just got better and better. It was so great. The sheer talent of these guys. One of the dudes had his cello behind his back and he's playing, and each one of them I think took a turn almost of being great. They all had their moments to shine, and the drummer was fantastic too. And so it was so great. And once again, all they did, they played, it was them specifically playing Metallica songs. So I knew pretty much all the material, and, it just seemed like the energy was really high and exciting, and it was there, and everybody was just, into it. And then, they kind of did an encore and they finished out the show. And it was one of those shows where I think usually a lot of concerts by the end, it's the end and you're kind of like, okay, I could have used maybe one more song, but for the most part, I've seen it all. I'm ready to go. And, good times were had by all, that kind of thing. This was one of those shows where they could have played 5 more songs or 10 more songs, and I would have just been, yes, let's do this. Let's go. I was actually pretty sad when they ended. And I don't know if it's because I missed some of it, going to the bathroom and having the conversations that I had, during, or was it that Apocalyptica was so good that they really did leave me wanting more. And so it was just such a great show. I can't stress enough that if this particular show or Nita Strauss or Apocalyptica come, whether it's separately to your area, you should 100% go check them out. I am so excited that Apocalyptica is going to be playing the Tuska Fest, so I have another opportunity to see them, and especially in their homeland, which is going to be super great. But I will definitely say that this particular show exceeded my expectations, and once again, I can't say it enough that if this particular show comes to your area, you absolutely have to go. It's definitely worth it, and it's a great time. Anyway, folks, that was my experience. I don't know how to rate this. Do you go like 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10? You know what I mean? So you can tell I had a great time. So just know I had a great time. You'll have a great time if you go see the show. Definitely worth it, so go see it. Hopefully you found it entertaining, and more importantly, if you like this video, hit the like button. If you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please hit the subscribe button. There's definitely a ton more concerts in my future and a ton more videos like this. So please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification button. That way you'll get notified when I put more videos out. More importantly, please leave comments. With that being said, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.